Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. It's the big one today, or as far as cup ties go today, it's the big one, United and Liverpool for the second week running. Can't wait for it. The team news should be out any second now. I've had a quick look at the newspaper lineups and every single newspaper I've looked at has got Telles playing at left back. I think Luke Shaw will play at left back. I feel pretty confident he will. They've all got Henderson in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Telles as a back four. The Sun have got a bit of an outlandish team. They've got Van der Beek and McTominay as the central midfield players. They've got Juan Mata at number 10 and they've got Rashford, Greenwood and James as the front three. That's pretty outlandish compared to all the others. All the others are pretty much of a muchness. As I say, they've all got the same keeper and back four, so I won't go through that each time. But the Manchester Evening News have got McTominay and Fred. They've got Bruno, Rashford, Cavani and Pogba. The Independent and the Evening Standard, again the same back four, except McTominay and Matic with Bruno, Rashford, Cavani and Pogba. And the Mirror, I've got McTominay and Fred and Bruno, Rashford, Marshall and Pogba, so no Cavani in the Mirror's lineup. So give or take a player or so, well just a player really. The Manchester Evening News, the Independent, the Evening Standard and the Mirror have all virtually got the same team, but the Sun's is miles out. So don't know if the Sun have got some sort of inside information that nobody else has got. I'll be fascinated to see. Well, I'll be amazed if they've got it anywhere near right, if I'm honest. But it will be amazing if they have got it right. So the team news should be out any second now.
Nothing out just yet.
Nothing out yet. I'm hoping Van der Beek gets a game. I gave you the lineup that I think he'll pick myself yesterday. You know, I think it will be Henderson in goal. I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka. I think it'll be Lindelof, Maguire, and I'm pretty sure it'll be Shaw. As I say, all five of these newspapers have all got Telles at left back. I think they're just thinking it's Telles' turn, but I think he's going to want to be solid at the back. I'll be surprised if Telles plays me. I think he'll want to keep his regular back four together.
Here we go.
Go on, the team's out. Here we go.
Henderson in goal.
Yeah.
Lindelof and Maguire at centre half.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka and Shaw full backs.
Sure, there you go. So all the papers are wrong and I've got it right. Go on.
McTominay and Pogba in the middle.
McTominay and Pog, yeah.
Rashford, Greenwood, Cavani and Van der Beek.
Wow. Rashford, Greenwood.
So I think it's going to be Van der Beek behind Cavani, Rashford from the right, Rashford from the left, Greenwood from the right, and McTominay.
So no game for Matic.
Pogba in the middle of the park.
No game for Matic. I'm devastated. I'm absolutely devastated for Matic. That's 3 games in a row, no game. Just the odd game here and then he puts him in for a start, and they're not. It's not like they're just easy games. Well, there isn't any easy games in the Premier League. He played against Wolves, he played against Burnley. Even though it was a League Cup tie, he played against Everton. Everton were at full strength. I don't.
Do you think he's that frightened of dropping? Obviously, I'm devastated that Marshall's not in the team as well.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if it makes it easier for him to drop Bruno when he goes and he's getting a rest.
Yeah. I think.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I sometimes say that when he makes 2 substitutions at once, and I've said this loads of times. I think managers who make 2 subs at the same time, a lot of the time, they haven't got the bottle to only make 1. If you think about it, this often happens with half an hour to go in a game. Not just Ollie, but lots of managers. Half an hour to go in a game. You're only allowed 3 subs. It isn't sensible to leave yourself with 1 substitute for the last half hour. And when you say the last half hour, I remember United on one occasion, like against Liverpool, I think, was it the season before last, didn't we have to make 3 substitutions in the first half? I think we did. We had to make 3 substitutions in the first half. So we made 3 substitutions in one half, and one of those substitutes, I think, was one of the substitutes got injured. So you make 2 subs with half an hour to go. It's easily feasible that you lose a player within the next 3 or 4 minutes. Easily. Then you're playing virtually half an hour without having a substitute as a backup. I think it's silly. I really do think it's silly using 2 subs at once with half an hour to play, and you see it a lot. And And I think they don't like taking one player off, as if to say it's all if it's not going well. Like it's all, they feel as though the player might feel it's all his fault, or you're saying it's all his fault. And I think the managers bottle it. I really do. You should only make one sub, and that's what at one time I should say, especially with so long left. That is a similar thing to what you're saying, and it wouldn't surprise me one little bit. So Cavani's playing up top, yeah. Cavani's playing, you said, didn't you?
Cavani,
yeah, Cavani. So Greenwood's going to be on one flank. Greenwood's going to be on the right. Rashford's going to be on the left, and Van der Beek at number 10.
Yes, correct. That's what I think it'll be.
I'm glad Van der Beek's getting a game at number 10. I really am. But I'd love him to get a game at number 10 with Martial being on the left flank. He'd do a lot better, I'm sure. What's the Liverpool lineup? Can you bring that up? If Trent and Robertson are playing, Rashford and Greenwood have got the work cut out.
What have Mata and James got to do for a run out?
I don't know. Are they on the bench?
Mata, James and Matic. Or Mata, James. The bench is De Gea, Telles, Twanzebe, Bruno, Fred, James, Mata, Matic, Marshall. James, Mata, Matic, Marshall.
I feel sorry for Van der Beek, I really do. He gets a game and there's loads of other changes. Martial should be playing.
So Liverpool, full strength, pretty much.
Is it?
Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Williams and Fabinho, Robertson, Thiago, Wijnaldum, Milner, Jones, Salah, Firmino, Mane.
No Trent Alexander?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Alexander-Arnold.
Sorry.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, right full-back, Robertson left full-back, Williams and Fabinho centre-half.
Yeah.
Midfield three, Thiago, Wijnaldum and Milner, and then Jones, Salah and Firmino as the front three.
It's a strong team, mate. It's a strong team. I think it's going to be a right hard game. Obviously it's going to be an hard game anyway, but there's no guarantees you're going to beat Liverpool no matter which team you pick.
It'd be interesting to see today, out of the two players that I believe should be challenging. Well, they wouldn't be my first choice to be honest, but realistically speaking, it should be Marshall on one flank, and then it's like.
Two or three choices.
James or Mata on the right hand side. In my opinion, or Pogba to be fair. Pogba out there, Matic in the middle of the park. But between Greenwood and Rashford, it'll be interesting today to see which one does the midfield duties as
well as each other. Yeah. They're both going to have to track them two fullbacks big time.
Absolutely, yeah. The job that Marshall did against Alexander-Arnold in the last game against Trent. He was playing.
Rashford's going to have that job, isn't he? Greenwood's going to be on the right, surely. That's how they always play when them two play. Is anybody asking any questions yet?
Yeah, there's a few. Ricky Matic will play against Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think he probably will now. Yeah, I think he probably will. He's fitting everybody in though. Does he leave Fred out again, or will it be Matic and Fred? Against Sheffield United, possibly.
Matic, people surprised not to see Matic in the team.
I'm amazed he's not playing.
Yeah, so am I. Thomas Omar, how on earth can Greenwood get ahead of Mata or James?
It's beyond me, absolutely beyond me.
Do you know what's big?
Mason Greenwood is just doing okay. And I've said it a few times before. He's just doing okay and nothing more. Absolutely nothing more. And some people say to me, yeah, but you've got to give youth a chance, and you need these youth players obviously for the future, but obviously to bring them on if you like. But it's about winning games of football here and now.
Yeah.
Your youth player to me needs to be in the team when he's the best person for the job, not when you think he might become the best person for the job in a year or two. Because Mason Greenwood to me is far below our best choice for the wide right role. Far below.
I think there's evidence there's evidence there to show that the club we don't see us persevering really with any of these young stars in the defensive line and the midfield line. It doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
Because they don't have goals and assist stats to be able to just present to anybody who questions whether or not they should be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, good shout.
It has to be based on the underlying performances. Now, with forward players, you've got this get out of jail free card for including them, because if they've got any goals or assists, which you will naturally get if you play in the forward line for Manchester United, whoever you are, you can quickly use those statistics.
So he's doing all right,
as a defence for that player being included in how they're doing well. But players in the defensive line, the midfield line, they haven't got that.
Yeah, they can't make mistakes.
That easy
if
justification.
you're picking a youngster as a forward and he's not scoring goals as well, you can still defend that, can't you? You can still defend that and say, oh, don't worry, they'll come, he's playing fine. But you can't hide behind anything if you're playing as a defender and you're not playing so well, or you're not holding your own, so to speak. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. Who's next up?
I'm nervous as well, to be honest. Torman 638.
Hi, Torman.
Playing 3 9s again.
Yeah. They're all really number 9s. Cavani, Rashford. I don't think Cavani's going to be too happy playing with Rashford and Greenwood. To be fair, I think they must have worked on this and discussed it. I noticed against Fulham that Greenwood put 2 dangerous crosses into the box, and that might not sound like a lot, but it's more than it's a big improvement. It's a big improvement. He put 2 really good crosses into the box, so I think they have spoken about it. I think they're working on it, so it'd be nice to see. Well, it's going to be more difficult today, obviously, to get any crosses into the box. You know, Greenwood's going to be up against Robertson. Rashford rarely puts good crosses into the box anyway, and Cavani thrives off that. So you need, I think we're going to need to change our wide players, I think, to try and win this game.
I think it's I don't think there's enough consideration for the different mindset involved for playing different positions. Obviously, I know players with fantastic ability have got, they're agile, they can play in different positions, they're versatile. But there is a completely different mindset to playing at number 9 than there is to playing on the right or left hand side of midfield.
Yeah, completely different.
It's a different way to think about what your job is for that day.
Yeah.
When you're going into that game, you're thinking about opportunities that, as a wide player, this is what I'm going to do today to get around my fullback and get the ball in the box. This is what I'm going to... And if you're a right midfielder, and I've always been a right midfielder, that's how your brain works. If you're a number 9 being asked to play on the right hand side of midfield, that's not usually how your brain works. You used to try to get on the shoulder and try to find space in the box. It's
different
a different mindset.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. And at this elite level of football, I don't really see why we keep
shoehorning people in.
Players in. Get natural players in.
Get natural players who do it properly. Yeah. Who's up next?
Is Diallo on the bench, and what do you think about Diallo? He doesn't look like he's not on the bench.
Don't think he is on the bench. I read this morning that he's not going to be involved. There's big stories coming out about him looking the part though in the training, isn't there? I've been hearing that.
Lawrence Hughes, Shaw won't do as well now. Rashford is in front of him instead of Marshall.
Yeah, he might have more of a struggle today, definitely. I thought the link-up play between Shaw and Marshall was good against Liverpool, and I thought it was excellent against Fulham. I watched the game back again, and the number of times they interlink with each other, it really looks like... we need to settle on a team, I think, or close to a team, and those two on that left, they need to play together more and more to get that understanding going, and I think it'll be difficult with Shaw and Rashford to get it going as well as they were going between Shaw and Martial. Really do. I knew we'd pick Rashford today. I knew he would. He didn't play the other night, and I thought he's not going to leave him out 2 games in a row. And I think it's going to be a right tough game for us, partly because of that, because I don't fancy Greenwood against these two much either.
Zahiri Jazz, you talk about putting too much emphasis on goals and assists, but you take it way too far. You put 0 importance on goals and assists. It's not 0.
I'd have to have a good think about it. He might have a point. I won't say I put. Obviously, goals and assists are important. I don't think assists are not important in my book. To be fair, you might say that's going a bit too far. But I'm an absolute stickler for pass. pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. So much so that I would hope that most of your goals come from the final pass of a move that's no more difficult than the previous 3, 4 or 5 passes in the same move. There should be obvious passes where the person is playing it across the 6-yard box or slipping somebody in through the channel when you've actually got space to do so. So I would like my team to play so well that the assists are easy passes, so that you don't, so that anybody could play those passes if they just happen to be the person. The assister of the assister should be equally as important as the assister. He's the one who can see and give it to someone who's in a good position to put it across. Do you understand what I mean?
In an ideal world, it would never fall like this, but it should just be random if you're playing football in the right way. The assists really should just be distributed fairly evenly across all of your players who spend most of the time in the attacking third.
The front 6 and the 2 full-backs.
Yes, that should be where your assists are fairly evenly distributed, just randomly placed amongst those players. There shouldn't really be...
Yeah. There shouldn't be any necessity for somebody to be, as they always say these days, creative. I think all the players are being creative, passing and moving. That's creative football to me. So I'm not looking for someone or needing someone in my team who can be the one, as they say. They always say, we need somebody who can open up the opposition defence. All your team should be passing the ball around and opening up the opposition defence. So I'm not keen on putting an emphasis on who actually ends up with the most assists. I'm not keen on that at all. But goals, obviously your number 9 should be the one who scores more goals than anybody else.
Yes, but just because of the position that they occupy on the pitch.
But they're also in that position because they're
particularly good with those skills.
They've come through the ranks as a striker generally, haven't they? Or wherever you got them from.
That's their trade.
They've grown up playing that position, yeah.
Absolutely.
So you would expect your number 9 to be your top goal scorer. So if it ain't going well for you, obviously you want it to go well for your centre forward. It's better for your centre forward's confidence if he's getting the goals, but for the team, it doesn't really matter who scores the goals, so long as somebody is. Doesn't really matter.
Boris Turamanov here saying, why are you saying there are loads of changes around VDB, Ricky?
There isn't. Cavani, to start with, Bruno's getting... Van der Beek's got Bruno's position. Cavani is starting at number 9, which I'm pleased with. And I know he started during the week, but it was his first start, wasn't it, for a bit? Rashford didn't start during the week. Greenwood did. So there's in fact from the team from Wednesday night, or when was it Wednesday we played? There's actually only 2 changes in the front 4, if you call it a front 4. Van der Beek for Bruno and Rashford for Martial. But then also behind him you've got McTominay, who's come into the middle of the field. So maybe there's not a lot of changes, but it just does get mixed up a lot. At the end of the day, when you look at that lineup, Rashford plays a hell of a lot, but I would prefer Martial in that position, and Greenwood doesn't play all the time on the right. We have lots of different players who get games on the right, and I would prefer about 3 different players in front of Greenwood. I've seen Juan Mata play there. I'd rather have Juan Mata there. I've seen Pogba play there just recently. I'd sooner have Pogba there. And if Pogba wasn't playing, we could have somebody like Matic then in the midfield. If Pogba was playing on the right instead of Greenwood, Matic could be next to McTominay. I think Matic is the sort of passer of a ball that Van der Beek, I believe, would thrive on, because he puts the balls into people's feet from middle of the field. So maybe to say there's a lot of changes is the wrong way to put it. Maybe I should say that there's about 3 players playing around him that I wouldn't have in my team, or I wouldn't have him in those positions. I just think Van der Beek would have a much better game today if wide on the left it was Anthony Martial, and if wide on the right instead of Greenwood it was either Pogba, and I'd be quite happy with that. He played really well there. He's been playing well recently, but that would then make room for Matic in midfield. Or I wouldn't mind Juan Mata on the right. I think the speed of thought, the speed of touch and passing of Juan Mata would be better for Van der Beek to play with than Mason Greenwood, and I also believe Marshall the same on the left. So I'd love Van der. Look, we've all got our own favourite players, of course we have. I would love Van der Beek. He's now getting a game in a position where I want him to get games, but I would like it to be with a couple of different players, basically.
Ricky, would you prefer a flat 3 midfield or the two, or the like with the number 10 like we keep playing? It's to do with the wide positions, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a 4-4-2 man, really. And this look, no matter how they put it up on the TV later, this will be a supposed 4-4-2. I mean, Rashford and Greenwood have got to do the work behind the ball to make it a 4-4-2. But really, it will line up as Pogba and McTominay will be your central midfield players. Greenwood will be wide right, which is a wide right of a midfield. Look, when I mention players' names, other players' names, I'm not comparing these players to those players. I'm not saying they're anything like those players, but they're playing the same position, and they've just got to make the best fist of it that they can. So Greenwood is playing wide on the right, just as David Beckham did in a 4-4-2, and Marcus Rashford is going to be wide on the left. I'm assuming that's how it's going to be, by the way. Van der Beek will be at 10 and Cavani at 9. I think it'll be that way. And if Rashford's playing on the left, he's wide left of a 4-4-2. In other words, he'll be playing the same position that Ryan Giggs used to play, but not doing it anywhere near as well, certainly the defensive side of it. So it's going to be, it's a 4-4-2 for anybody's money, with Van der Beek at 10 and Cavani at 9.
Thomas Omar, it's a shame, Rick, because we've improved our ability to retain the ball by bringing in Donna, yet reducing it by dropping Anthony.
Definitely. That's one of my points.
Yeah,
that's one of my points, yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Josh Harper, Rick, I agree with you about pretty much all of our players, but I think you overrate Lindelof a bit for me. He's a steady player but makes a lot of mistakes that people don't always notice. I don't think he's the best of what we've got is what I'm getting from what you've been saying about Lindelof.
That's what I think. Yeah,
it's not that if you were trying to put together a Premier League 11, you'd be picking Lindelof at centre half. No, you would much rather have kept Smalling than be playing Lindelof next to Maguire.
Smalling made a terrible error yesterday, and people keep reminding me of it. Look, they will make errors, defenders. You know what I mean? And I've not seen. And to be fair, I've not seen Lindelof or Maguire make such a poor error for a long time. Well, I can't remember the last time, and it was a poor one. But
am I right in pointing out that it's more to do with you believe that Lindelof is the best of what we've got at our disposal as opposed to him being a top centre half?
Yeah. So if that's what he's saying, I think I don't think Lindelof's quite Jaap Stam or Ronnie Johnson, but from what we've got, at our disposal, Lindelof and Maguire are the best pair. I'm sure of it. And just while we're on a similar subject. It's only last week that everyone was saying it's got to be Bailey, it's got to be Bailey, it's got to be Bailey. And we've played Liverpool twice in a week, and it's Lindelof twice in a week. Bailey's played against Fulham and Burnley. Make no mistake, Lindelof's number one. Make no mistake. And the same is applying to Telles. Anybody who was on at the start of the show, because I know people tune in as we're talking. But I was reading out the suggested lineups or predicted lineups from the Manchester Evening News, the Independent, the Evening Standard, the Mirror and the Sun, and every single one of them had Telles at left back. And I said, I don't think it will be Telles at left back, I think it'll be Luke Shaw. Even when you're making changes to your team, which he has made a few changes to the team, you need your best back four playing. If you start by getting your back four right, you're giving yourself a chance against a team like Liverpool. And the back four, his favourite back four, is Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. And I would have had money on the back four being that. And that is what he's picks.
Talent has just mentioned we don't play a high line. We don't play a high line against Liverpool. That's why Lindelof plays.
Yeah, I've heard all this. I heard somebody say the other day that against teams where we're going to play a high line, we'll use Bailey, and then when we don't play a high line, we can use Lindelof. I'm not sure it's a fair argument.
I've got to say a shout out straight away to Jassim in Qatar. Has just made a fantastic donation on the super chat there. Thank you, Jassim. Ricky, we love you in Qatar. And It's an expensive one.
Thank you, Jassine. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. What's the weather like there? I bet it's a bit warmer than here, isn't it? Give us a reply, Jassine, if you would.
You were talking about the high line, weren't you? With
Yeah.
Lindelof and Maguire.
Yeah, the high line, this high line stuff. Against the poorer teams, I hate saying poorer teams, it's a hard league, isn't it? You know what I mean, they're all decent teams. But against, the teams that are not the top teams, we're going to press more. We're going to have a high line against a higher line on average in a game against Burnley, who we've just played, and against Fulham, who we've just played, simply because we're forcing them back and we're pushing up and we want to be there to keep the pressure on them. And when they clear the ball, we want to be the first ones on that ball, keep the pressure on them. So we will have a higher line against Burnley and against Fulham. I'm only mentioning those two teams, by the way, because we played them in the last week. No disrespect to either of them. But with today's game, we also will have played Liverpool twice in the space of a week. So in the space of about, 12 days, 14 days, we'll have played Burnley, Fulham and Liverpool twice. So Lindelof's going to play twice against Liverpool and Bailey's going to play against Fulham and Burnley. And there's one reason and one reason only. And the reason is that the Liverpool game is the tougher game and the manager wants his strongest backline out in the tougher games. As I say again, no disrespect to Burnley and Fulham. And against Burnley and Fulham, he thinks he can get away with giving one of his players a rest and giving somebody else a run out in that position. So Lindelof doesn't play against Burnley and Fulham. He gets a breather and Bailey plays. If we were playing... So it's nothing to do with the high line. It's purely and simply to do with the stronger player and the better team. If it was the last game of the season tomorrow, and this is to all these people that are saying against the team where we're going to push more and we're going to have a higher line, you think it'll be Lindelof. If we were playing Fulham or Burnley tomorrow and it was the last day of the season and we needed a win to get into the top four, or hopefully this season, a win to win the league. I shouldn't say that, touch wood. Let's just say we needed a win on the last day of the season to get into the top four or to finish in the top four. It would be Lindelof and Maguire. It would be Lindelof and Maguire. He wouldn't say, oh, it's Fulham today or it's Burnley today. We're going to play a higher line, so I'm going to pick Bailey. If it was an important game with no further games to come after that game, it would be Lindelof that would play. Make no mistake about it. In the tough games, it's Lindelof. In the poorer games, it's Bailey. And if the poorer games happen to come where there's no further games after that, or there's no reason whatsoever why you shouldn't play your strongest backline, against all these teams that we're playing a higher line against, it will be Lindelof and Maguire. That's his favourite back four, no matter who the opposition are.
Amberish says, why do you think then LFC plays a high line? Sorry, what's that? Why do you think then LFC plays a high line with every team? Doesn't matter if it's Bayern, United, Barcelona. Why is it so?
Well, they're a better team than us, aren't they? They get more. They keep the ball better. When you keep the ball better and you manage to keep pressure on the opposition and build yourself up the field, and if you're passing the ball around in their third. Your midfield players, maybe, 35 yards from their goal and a couple of forwards, a bit for you give it, you get it back. You just keep moving it around and you try and keep the pressure on and you're looking for an opening. While all that is happening, your defenders can't be 20 yards inside their own half. They've got to be up near the halfway line. The team moves up and down like that together. They try and keep... The defenders at all times trying to keep themselves within 15 yards of the midfield players, whether they've got pacey defenders or not. It's a load of rubbish, all this about we could play a high line with a pacier centre-back. It's an absolute load of rubbish. All teams, if they're playing in a game where they're the better team, because even the poorer teams, maybe in a cup match they might play a second division outfit, even the poorer teams, when they're on top and they've got the opposition penned back, the defence come up to the halfway line. Yeah. They don't sit 15, 20 yards back in their own half thinking, oh, these might break away. They get to the halfway line and then they nip it in the bud. They try and win the ball and keep the pressure on.
Yeah. It's actually hard work trying to get out all the time, every time. If you're under pressure all the time and then you're getting up the field and you're trying to drag the rest of your defenders out. Maguire will be turning to the rest of his back four. Out, get out, get out. And it's hard work trying to get out all the time. But that is what goes on in a defensive line. You're trying to get up the pitch as much as you can. And it doesn't matter how fast or slow the players are that are there. You're trying to get as high up as possible all the time.
Yeah, to keep them pending.
Yeah. Thomas Omar, Rashford or Greenwood for you, Rick?
What, between the two players?
Yeah.
It's a right tough one, mate. It's a right tough one. I'd probably just about go Greenwood, I think. Probably would.
Margaret Stott, can you explain Liverpool's recent struggles? Love the videos.
Obviously, there's a few different things, but actually explaining why it's gone so badly awry this last few games, that's impossible to say. But it obviously hasn't been as good with the centre back, Van Dijk, being out all season.
And the impact there isn't just that Van Dijk isn't available and now someone else is playing there. It's that it's disrupted other positions on the pitch. So you've seen Henderson have to come out of the midfield, which has then impacted the midfield. You've seen Fabinho come out of it to play in that role.
It's not just Van Dijk, is it? Gomez is injured as well, isn't he? Matip's been missing at the same time. They've had all the centre backs missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like us, you know. Imagine us going into we've just been discussing Lindelof and Bailey. They've had times where, effectively, if you look at it,
McTominay playing at centre half.
They've got Maguire missing, injured. They've got Lindelof missing, injured, and they've got Bailey missing, injured. Imagine us in that situation. So when I put it that way, it's pretty obvious why they're struggling. But why they've gone so bad in it? Because they've been like that for a while, though. What's happened in the last couple of weeks? Dropping points left, right and centre to the likes of West Brom and Newcastle, and no disrespect to them teams, and they might drop points on the odd occasion to a team like that, but it seems to be, and losing to Burnley at home, it just seems to be one game after another at the minute. Let's hope it continues today.
Nanya says, Ricky, do you think McTominay works well with Pogba and Donny? Because to me, McTominay isn't good enough defensively. We need at least one proper defensively good player. Matic or Fred, Nanya's put.
I'm not sure about that. I see people writing that about McTominay. They go past him too quick. But when I see Fred play, although he wins some tackles, I also see him dribble past him like he's not there at times. I'm not too sure there's much difference. I'm really not. McTominay's more physical. He's better in the air.
The physicality drives me mad.
Yeah, he's so strong. What you can't grasp when you're watching football, it's impossible, almost impossible, for somebody to realise what the difference would be when you watch a player, and if that player wasn't there and it was a different player, it's almost impossible to see that if he wasn't there, what somebody else would have done. And McTominay, being 6'4" and having a longer stride length, he reaches balls and makes it look easy that Fred would be struggling to get to, or maybe just getting a tackle in at the last second. McTominay's achieving some things on the field that are so easy that you don't realise that it's even any good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Well, it's just, and you can't. It's impossible to look at it and think, if he wasn't there, where would who would be the alternative, and what would that alternative be doing, and would he have especially balls in the air as well? And it's important, balls in the air. He's heading some balls to his mates who Fred wouldn't even be making a challenge for. It'd be going over him and he'd be turning and running back towards his own goal.
I remember you making this point quite a lot when Matic was. I mean, he seems to be back right out of favour again now. But last season when he was out of favour, and in your fan cams, you were constantly campaigning.
Got to be Matic. Matic came into the team, and everybody was saying, "Wow, what a difference, Matic!"
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that he does, like you said, it goes because it's easy for him.
It's so easy for him. It goes unnoticed.
So a ball's bouncing in the middle of the park, and he brings it down on his chest, and that just goes straight over Fred's head. Yeah. Now he's so. I
see Fred get knocked over by people, and people think, "Well, at least he's getting stuck in," and he is getting stuck in. But in the very same situation, Matic or McTominay might knock the opponent over. rather than getting knocked over. The difference is immense. It's immense.
Tom and Rick, when people try to undermine physicality, just point them towards Wenger's latter teams where he neglected physicality and was laughed at for being babies, as Evra would say. Josh Harper, Rick, do you think the standard of football has declined in the last 3 or 4 years? I keep hearing it has evolved, but none of our players would get into our 08 team, and we're top of the league right now.
Does he mean the standard of football generally in the Premier League, do you think?
That's the way he
yeah,
reads it, yeah.
It's a tough ask. When I watch some of the football played by, even Leicester, when I say even Leicester, do you know what I mean? They're not one of the big six, are they? And Arsenal are one of the big six, and I think they're only just scraped into the top 10, aren't they, at the moment? That could be... that's a bit of each. It's partly the fact that Arsenal are not doing what they can or should be able to do, but also the teams above them are playing better than you would expect. You wouldn't expect Aston Villa. Aston Villa are where they are, not because the standard's poor, but because they're so good compared to what they normally are. So it's a difficult one. That I would say that the standard's pretty good at the minute. To be honest, there's lots of decent teams, and maybe lots of decent teams, and maybe City and Liverpool are not quite where they have been in the last few years, but they're still top sides, and Liverpool will snap out of it. Liverpool will come with a run, and I've even seen people saying they'll be fighting for top 4. I don't see that happening. I think they'll walk at the top 4. I hope I'm wrong, but I think they will. Last one. It's time to go.
Amberish. Let's say we had a proper central defensive midfielder like Rice or Kante. Do you think McTominay would end up a squad player? Because McTominay and Fred's passing is so poor going forward.
I believe you've got to have 2 midfield players. I had this during the week with when I watched Leicester, and people were talking about Ndidi, and I've seen people saying Ndidi can do the job on his own. We need a player. Look, you play as a pair. Ndidi's partner the other night, and I made a point of it on Twitter. His partner is the Belgian Tielemans. Ndidi and Tielemans. They both cover the same area of the pitch, one slightly to the right and one slightly to the left. If one goes forward, the other one's a bit behind, and vice versa, and they work as a pair. And that's how good central midfield players work together. Now, no matter who you've got in that position, he can't do it on his own. So McTominay, for me, when I say proper midfield players who don't get caught ahead of the ball too often, which Bruno does. He's not a proper midfield player. Bruno is an attacking midfield player. And I would have levelled this at Pogba not long ago, but he seems to be a lot more disciplined this last few months than what I used to see, what I used to think of Paul Pogba. We had players playing before who weren't disciplined enough. You need to be disciplined, and you need to make sure that you're in position when the opposition haven't got the ball. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you only need to be in position. If you've got your 2 players in position, they refrain from trying to get past you. They knock it to the side, or they turn and they go backwards. And just by your players all being in position, you can make them make a mistake in the end. They've got to try and get through you. They try the long ball or whatever it is they might try and take somebody on, and they lose it. So you sometimes just need to be in position, and you need to be disciplined. And McTominay, at least, is that. So if we signed, I think they didn't mention Ndidi, they mentioned Kante. If we signed a Kante or an Ndidi, his partner in the centre of midfield would still have to be either McTominay or Fred or Matic, or if he remains as disciplined as he has done recently, Paul Pogba. You can't just have somebody else next to him who keeps bombing forward and getting caught ahead of the ball. You've got to have 2 men in the middle of that field repelling the opposition. And when I say repelling, don't forget what I said. You don't necessarily have to win a tackle. You will do at some stage, obviously. But most of the time, it's just about being in position and keeping the shape of the team.
Just add to that quickly what El Steele has said here, that I think that McTominay's passing is 10 times better going forward. You know, his actual passing is 10 times better than what most people seem to think it is anyway.
It's proper decent, yeah. He gives it away occasionally, of course he does, but you see, a lot of people jump on me back when I say this. The ones that go astray are the ones where he's actually trying to make a defence splitting pass or a ball over the top, which he'll only do 2 or 3 times in a game, 3 at the very most. You know, we've got another player who gets away with trying that 8 or 9 times, and yet people criticise McTominay's forward passing, and he only does it 2 or 3 times in a game. I think we better call it a day.
Give another shout out to Jassim for the big super chat and the message from Qatar.
Thank you, Jassim. Thanks for the message from Qatar. I wish I was in Qatar, and I'm desperately hoping, surely they're going to be full stadiums by the time that comes around.
Let's hope so.
Jassim, I'll be over there for it, mate. If I can be, if it's humanly possible, I'll be in Qatar for that World Cup, and I can't wait for it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jassim, again. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, you know what to do. Keep stum.